Hello there, my friends. I hope you're doing well. Assalamu alaikum. I just want to have a short discussion on the essence of Islam and how that essence has unfortunately shifted to a position where it is hardly resembling the original essence of what Islam was. Now, I can hear many of you or many people watch these videos, and I get it in the comment section also telling me, but Anwar, you are making such a far-reaching claim that this deen or that Islam, that the Muslims have undergone a major drift or shift in the core essence of what their deen was. But how dare you, as an individual, come to such a conclusion? Who are you to make that conclusion? There are so many learned scholars and learned men over decades, over generations, that could have come to that conclusion and that have not reached that conclusion. So how dare you make that claim? Now, my dear friends and those of you who make that kind of statement or hold that position, I can't force you to listen to me, and I can't force you to believe me. All I can do is be true to myself and speak to you the words that I am convicted of, that I'm convinced of, that I've made the effort of. And then you are very welcome to, after listening to me, come to the conclusion that what you are saying, Anwar, is indeed nonsense. I've given you 5 minutes and it's gone, it's over. I've heard enough. But if you think of it from my position, I am a student of this deen. I'm not a student of this deen. I'm a student of life. I'm a student, full stop. I'm seeking, I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to make sense. And that, my friends, is my motivation, is the root of my existence, is to try to make sense and understand. There are certain happenings or certain facts that are presented to me under the heading of Islam, under the heading of this is your deen, that simply do not appear to be logical or consistent. And that, my friends, should cause you or anyone, if they are presented with a body or with a discourse, and they discern or they find or they notice within that body of testimony or evidence certain contradictions, it should be of concern to anyone. Now, if somebody came to me with the Qur'an, and the Qur'an, I check it out and I read it from cover to cover, and that is exactly what I did, and I find no logical inconsistencies in that discourse, that book, then I would embrace it. If it is something that is wholesome, that is good, that is positive, that is enhancing of me as a human being, that provides evidence that creates a better understanding, absolutely I would embrace it wholeheartedly. But you see, Islam that we have received today is not just that book. That book is fine. I've checked it out. Others have checked it out. Non-Muslims have checked it out. And they've all come to the conclusion that this book checks out. It makes sense. The only contradictions that are in there are the ones that my mind falsely creates. And if you read it with honesty, with sincerity, not with a belligerent attitude, you can't find a contradiction in there. That absolutely, I vouch for it. There where there might seem to be a contradiction, if you really read it carefully, like for example the prohibition of wine, I'm not going to go into that there, but it actually does make sense. Right, so why then revise? Why then come with this idea that Islam has undergone major drifting away from its original mission and its original essence? My friends, that I see in all the additional extra Quranic based practice that we have incorporated. Now, you know, the Qur'an as a body of knowledge, it is a discourse. It speaks about war, it speaks about peace, it speaks about health, it speaks about hygiene, it speaks about social justice, it speaks about social compassion, it speaks about the past, the future. It enlightens us as to the pathway towards success in this world and success in the life hereafter. And so it's a book that covers a particular set of topics, and it offers you solid guidance in terms of those topics. But now, if you find the extra Quranic message, it then brings in topics. First of all, it doesn't mirror the topics that are in the Quran. So the Hadith does not echo all the topics that are in the Quran. And you can check that out for yourself. Whereas the Quran has a huge emphasis on justice, on ruling by using God's word. Hukum, and I'll give an example. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. The Quran will at many places speak about how you should rule, govern or judge, because that's the word hukum. It is the word hukum in Arabic means to judge, to rule or to govern. There is no book of Islamic governance in these extra Quranic sources. Now that to me is suspect. As my son would say, it is sus. It is sus because why would an important topic that is covered so often in the Quran not be mirrored in the books of Hadith? Another topic, Kitabul Imama. There is a massive point made about the A'immatul, the leaders of corruption. The Quran refers on the one hand, and then the just and righteous leaders of people like Abraham. Why is there no topic or chapter on leadership and the qualities of leadership? Why is that relegated to some small few pages in a book of fiqh and hardly mentioned? And you never hear a khutbah about it also. You see, for me, this additional extra Quranic body of literature or information or discourse which you find in the books of tafsir, in the books of fiqh, in the books of hadith, these additional sources of information don't mirror the Quran. I could come up with more. You see, justice, that's another term. Justice, which is a term extensively covered in the Holy Quran. Not so in the Hadith. Tangential mentioning. Very, very, of little consequence. Now, if you look at these additional books of literature and evidence, from a rational, sane perspective, if you go through it, you will also find in those books material topics covered that are absent in the Quran. So in other words, there is no overlap, my friends. There is an area of commonality, agreed. There is an area where the Quran exclusively covers some topics, and there is an area of topics which the Hadith exclusively covers. The Hadith books, in other words, generally, just as a general term to describe all those extra Quranic books. Now, I could give you some examples offhand quickly. For example, the book on amulets, that chapter on amulets, or the chapter on how to sleep, how to go to the toilet. You see, these are chapters that the Quran has chosen to omit. The Quran doesn't have a chapter on how to go to the toilet, how to go to the loo, how to relieve yourself. These are things that are covered in the Hadith books again. Now, the defender of these books will argue, but look, Anwar, that is why the Hadith presents or offers you the detailed information. The Quran just goes into broad generalities. But that's not so. That's not so. The Quran goes into detail where it is required, like in the wudu, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, idha qumtum ila salat faghsilu wujuh. There's a detailed exposition of how you should wash up. The washing of a mu'min, the essential parts of the body that should be washed, is clearly expressed. Or in dividing the inheritance, where somebody dies intestate, where you are dealing with orphans with intestate parents. Very, very detailed exposition in Surah An-Nisa. Extremely detailed. Or when it comes to marriage and who we should marry, or if it comes to who a woman could relax her modesty, a level of modesty, to those categories. It would be very, very detailed. So you cannot tell me that the Quran is a book that omits detail. No. The book has all the detail it requires for those things that it deems necessary. Now, if you come in with how to go into the toilet and how you should sleep at night, on which side you should sleep, and what you should do if you drop a wind in a salah, or if you want to talk about how to scratch in your nose, etc. Those things, it's not important. It wasn't mentioned in the Quran. Or how long you should keep your beard. These are not exposition of the Quran. The Quran, tell me, if you consider the hadiths that speak about growing a long or a neglected beard, an untidy long beard, which verse is that espousing or expounding on or explaining? Which verse is that explaining? There's no verse that speak about how you should groom your beard and groom yourself. The Quran, in terms of grooming, the Quran makes the point that you should speak in a modest voice, you should dress modestly, you should not speak too harshly or too timidly. You see, the Quran has certain ideas about our presentation, but it never ever speaks about how you should comb your hair, cut your beard. So what I'm saying is that this additional body of information that we've been offered, in addition to the Qur'an, it doesn't espouse the Qur'an, it doesn't explain the Qur'an, because it covers different topics from the Qur'an, and it doesn't cover all the topics in the Qur'an. So to claim that these books are an exposition or a further elucidation of the Quran is just simply wrong. It's absolutely doesn't make, it only makes sense, like I always say, if you are forced to believe it. It only makes sense if you don't care about what you believe in. It only makes sense if you are afraid to contradict the majority. Now that brings me to the point of this video, and that is that I cannot believe something because the community says I have to do it. I cannot adopt a sacred practice, and sacred, maybe something else, but not sacred practices, just because the people around me told me, listen, you have to do it. And if I ask them now, why do you do it? Then they tell me, no, because that's how we learned it. Now let's take an example. I have a case here, for example. It's the month of Ramadan right now, at the moment. So people have the practice of praying in the mosque at night. Some of them do a ritual prayer which consists of 20 up and down movements, rak'ah, and some do it with 8. Now I ask the question, okay, is that in the Qur'an? No, it's not in the Qur'an. Not even, you see, the Qur'an does mention that spend the nights in additional dhikr, which consists primarily, if you read those verses, of internalizing, imbibing, understanding the ayat of the Qur'an. That is there. It is there in the Qur'an that the nights should be spent in reading, researching, understanding. So in other words, for me to go to bed at night, sit with the Qur'an or read a few and read passages, that I can understand it, is that do try to use the night when things are calm to understand the Qur'an, the ayat. But this thing of going to the mosque, or a central venue, and lining up and listening to somebody rendering the Qur'an, which is the positive part of that Tarawih practice, I agree, but with nobody understanding what is being recited, nobody really being involved at more than a physical level. Now, and then people will tell you, no, but it's the intention. There is no such a thing. Please show me in the Qur'an where the Qur'an says all actions are judged by their intention. Then I will show you a righteous Zionist and a righteous Christian and a righteous Hindu, because all of them have, and a righteous Shaik. Let me just take a Muslim one also, because if you say that intentions are all that matter, then there is no religious distinction between various groups, because all of our intentions are good. No, it's not intentions, my friends. That's a hadith that people, unfortunately, it's a false hadith, because it contradicts the Quran. We are not driven, or we are not judged by our intentions. We are judged by our actions. And our actions are judged by the criterion of the Qur'an. Our actions must be in line with what is divinely revealed, or what we, with our own eyes and ears, could ascertain for ourselves. There's a verse in the Qur'an that I mentioned the other day, and I'm going to go back to that verse quickly. Let me show you that. Where Allah says, Summun bukmun umyun. Now those words, Summun bukmun umyun, it translates to they cannot hear, or deaf, being deaf. Bukmun, being unable to speak or express themselves. Or umyun, being unable to see. That phrase appears actually more than once in the Qur'an. We are given a set of senses with which to ascertain truth. We are given eyes to see, to read, to observe. We are given ears to listen to all those who speak. Right? And we are given also articulation to question them, to engage with people, to speak to them. Those are the 3 senses that we need most in the process of learning and teaching. When you go to a classroom, you do 3 things essentially. You hear, you see, and you speak. That's what schools are all about. That's what knowledge acquisition is all about. But when you also walk outside in nature and you try and study and understand the way the flowers bloom and the way the birds, the patterns in which they operate on, you use the same faculties. You use the faculties of looking, hearing, and speaking with each other. And that is why actions are not judged by intentions, but actions are judged by the knowledge that underpins those actions. We are active based on what we understand, based on our insight, based on our knowledge. It is our knowledge that forms the basis of our activity, of our actions. Now, if you look at the Islam of today, my friends, does knowledge underpin the practice of Muslims? Does knowledge, that which we have acquired through learning, through discovery, through meaningful interaction or inter-social discourse, is it that knowledge that underpins this Islam? Tell me something. When Imam Hussein alayhi salam confronted the army of Yazid, were their intentions both noble? Did they both come with noble intentions? Some say yes. When Muawiyah waged war against Imam Ali alayhi salam, also, were those intentions noble on both sides? Yes, says the Muslim. So Muawiyah had noble intentions. He wanted to revenge the death of Uthman, his family member, one of the family, a member of the Umayyad family. Imam Ali was saying, no, this is the office of the Caliph. This is the office of the leader. The leader shall decide when and how to exact revenge and how to find the perpetrators. It's not for you to rebel and break away from the main body. And yet the Muslims will argue that no, they both had good intentions. You see how people can twist this religion, and that this religion, my friends, has undergone much twisting. And right there, when you say that two Muslims can go to war, kill each other, slay each other, and that both of them will go to Jannat, to me, it might be something that you can live with. It's not something I can live with. It's not something that I could process intellectually. It's not something that I could teach my children, that we are all going to Jannat, whether you are a perpetrator or a noble, righteous person, because both of your intentions were correct. My friends, it is or wrong ideas such as that one, that actions are judged by their intention, and similar false beliefs that have brought us to this position. Now, many of you will only have in recent months, because there's a huge rate of apostasy amongst Muslims. I've seen the scholars concede to that. There's a huge rate of apostasy. Only in recent months or recent years did Muslims start thinking that maybe there's something wrong with the way we are doing Islam. Maybe there's something wrong. Why? Because Allah gave us a huge wake-up call in the form of the Palestine, and more especially recently in the form of Gaza, where as Muslims, as people who count ourselves as being Muslims, we looked at the situation and we realized there's something wrong. Now, yes, your preachers will put you to sleep and will tell you, no, it's Allah's will. Allah is testing the Palestinians. My friend, no nation gets tested for 75 years straight. No nation gets tested for 75 years straight. That is not the way, because that's no longer a test. That means you are born into suffering and misery, and you die into suffering and misery. My friends, we need to wake up and say that it is not a test anymore. Or Islam is, being suppressed or being humiliated for what, 400 years? When is the first time? The first time a Muslim land was invaded was in 1799, when Napoleon marched into Egypt and occupied the Battle of the Pyramids, where he defeated the Mamluks, the last of the Mamluks who ruled Egypt, and set up a government under his control. My friend, from 1799 until now, it is 225 years. Allah does not test us for 225 years, my friends. That is not a test. My friends, the better explanation is that we are not practicing correctly, and we need to start making provision or start allowing for that possibility, because that is really what I truly believe to be the case, is that we are in the gutter of humanity. Why? Because we have twisted the belief system that we're supposed to adhere to, the beliefs that we should be exercising or practicing or committing to. We've twisted those. We believe that our actions are judged by our intentions, that the Qur'an is a book of that is inadequate, and so that is what we want to take to God and say, this is us, this is the Muslims. And if somebody says, yeah, but maybe the Shia, they've got something, or maybe the Houthis, or maybe, then we say, no, they are misguided. They are misguided. We are correct. But if you look around Gaza, if you look at all those countries, the mother or the bastion or the custodian of Sunni Islam, Ash'ari Sunni Islam, regular Sunni Islam, is Egypt. My friends, 80 million Egyptians, if they cannot demonstrate how to deal with Israel, then it means either they are not practicing correctly, or Israel is doing the right thing, or both are wrong. But if they are practicing what they are teaching in their schools for centuries and centuries and centuries, and they cannot overcome 6 million Jews setting up camp next door to them, killing and shooting and bombing the children and the mothers, then there's something wrong with them, my friends. It's better to start becoming honest with ourselves. There's something seriously wrong with them. Across the water, not across the water, just neighboring there's a country called Jordan, another Sunni country, practicing, believing that they are correct in their practices. Then there's another country, there's Saudi Arabia, right there next door to them, believing that they are the bastion of Islam. And out of these three countries, and we have Morocco and we have others also, out of these, and then there's Turkey also, just a stone's throw away. You can drive from Egypt to Turkey. It's not an excessively long drive, my friends. What do we get out of these so-called bastions of Sunniism? Now you're going to tell me, but it's the governments. But now, is your Islam not giving you a route to defending yourself? It's almost like saying, the Islam doesn't give a solution, because you cannot say, then you are going to enter into the type of theology of the Christian. The Christian's theology is, this is a fallen world. You see, the Christian's belief is that we live in a fallen world. The world itself is by nature evil and we are helpless. You then basically adopt that Christian defeatist attitude. Your religion speaks about oppression. Your Qur'an speaks about oppression. The cure, the solution for oppression is martyrdom and fearlessness. It's a simple solution. It's a very simple solution. The solution for an oppressor is first of all to become fearless of him, to fear God only. وَلَمْ يَخْشَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Secondly, to lose your fear of death, in other words, to embrace martyrdom, dying for the sake of God, because the Qur'an actually encourages people to pick up arms against those who oppress them, who prevent them from living a free life, from worshipping and from living their religion. So, are you saying that the Prophet was wrong to confront the oppressor, those who wanted to enslave him and his people, the Quraysh? Are you saying that Sunnah is not relevant anymore? You see, in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Turkey and Jordan and Morocco and all these sellout nations, the fact is that they've abandoned martyrdom, shahada. They've abandoned jihad against the oppressor. They've abandoned because Allah says, "Infiru khifafan aw thiqalan wa jahidu bi amwalikum wa anfusikum." Go forth when there's an oppressor. Pick up arms, go and confront the oppressor. وَمَا لَكُمْ لَا تُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. What is wrong with you that you are not prepared to go forth and confront your enemy? So my friends, if you're telling me, I don't want to hear that people saying that, yeah, but it's the governments, then why don't you change the governments? Why don't you follow the instructions from the Qur'an and confront those governments? Because that's what the Qur'an tells you. So you cannot stay there, live under this oppressive system, see how your family, your friends, your own nation is being bombed to smithereens, and say, look, I can't do anything. The sad thing is that these governments are not just failing to come to the support, they're also supplying Israel with oil, the Turkish pipeline. You see, the fact is that the Muslim of today, Gaza, Palestine, has exposed us, has exposed the truth to us. Now, if you're going to continue to say, there's Islam, there's nothing wrong with Islam or with the way we do Islam. It is the leaders. It's another. No, my friends, I've done the research. I've done the reading. I have no reason to lie to you. And I can tell you it is our practice, it is our understanding of Islam that has become cockeyed, messed up, deviated. And where you will see it is in those nations who have started to question it. Hezbollah, Ansarullah, the Mahdi Army in Iraq and all those other movements there. Some of the forces in Iran, I'm not saying blanket everyone, but those revolutionary forces in Iran. And so what I'm saying to you is that these people have started analyzing themselves. They've gone against their traditions, against the practice that they were forced to believe in. And now they're breaking with the people. And that's why, the Arabs don't like Hamas. The Saudis, the Egyptians and so on, they don't like Hamas. Because Hamas is busy changing the core beliefs. And Hamas is changing those core beliefs because those core beliefs are not leading them anywhere. It's leading them to hell on earth. Now, my friends, I'm going to conclude and say that Islam has undergone major corruption. The practice of Islam has undergone major corruption. And the only way we can see it is by looking around us, by using our eyes, our ears, and seeing that what Muslims have become is a failed community. They are not the best of communities. We are a failed community. And because we are a failed community, we are being invaded, bombed, hijacked, whatever you can think of, killed, wiped out. We ourselves have become a bundle of anger and rage, which is not supposed to be. You see, a Muslim is not a person filled with rage, because we don't have to be angry, because we do the right thing, and then we leave the results and the outcomes to the creator of the universe, to the benefactor of the cosmos, Ar-Rahman. We just do what we should do in terms of what the Qur'an teaches and what we are able to put together logically and rationally in the real world. We operate on that. In other words, we operate on the best of knowledge, and we leave the outcomes and the results to Allah. We are not here fighting with each other about who's a Muslim, whether Shias are Muslim, whether Ahmadiyas are Muslim, whether, is this guy a Muslim, is that guy a Muslim, or, must we boycott, must we... No, my friends. We put our minds together, we arrive at a position that is based on knowledge, which is based on research, which is based on a thorough investigation of reality, or on the noble and faultless message of the Holy Qur'an. And then the result is in Allah's hands. Whether we die, whether we are killed, whether we are injured, whether we are become poor, or whether we become, homeless, we are a comfortable, satisfied, happy people always. Because the comfort in our heart is that this is a temporary world. And the world that is to come is the world where we will get ultimate satisfaction and reward and justice for all the activities and the actions of this world. So my friends, the initial point I started out was saying that it is my position that Islam has undergone serious corruption, the understanding, the practice of Islam, not Islam itself. The core beliefs are those that appear in the Qur'an, and we, my friends, need to wake up. We need to stop saying it's a test from Allah. We need to start doing real knowledge. We need to stop following charismatic people that speak well and that speak forcefully and that appeal to your emotions, that themselves are on an emotional trip. Whether these people have beards, whether they have 1 million followers on YouTube. And I hope, my friends, that clarifies it somewhat more to you.